US Senator Lindsey Graham issued a pointed warning to China, India, and Brazil: stop buying Russian oil or face severe economic consequences. Appearing on Fox News, Senator Graham made it clear that he supports imposing tough measures on nations buying discounted Russian oil. He said Trump is going to impose tariffs on people that buy Russian oil: China, India, and Brazil. Those three countries buy about 80% of cheap Russian oil, and that's what keeps Putin's war machine going. So, President Trump is going to put a 100% tariff on all those countries, punishing them for helping Putin. Graham's message was that continuing business with Moscow could lead to these nations' economies being crushed by steep tariffs. He warned, if you keep buying cheap Russian oil to allow this war to continue, we are going to tear the hell out of you and crush your economy, because what you are doing is blood money. Graham's statements reflect a larger push with some US political circles using economic leverage and potential tariffs as key tools to curtail Russia's financial resources, fueling the conflict in Ukraine. Graham made it clear that the US policy would turn even more aggressive in cutting off Russian oil revenues. He framed this as a critical step to force Russian President Vladimir Putin to the negotiating table. He said, "This is a strong step in the right direction, but the goal is to shut down oil and gas purchases from Russia until Putin gets to the peace table." He drew a comparison between Trump and the current world golf number 1, Scottie Scheffler, saying Trump is the Scottie Scheffler of American politics and foreign diplomacy. On Ukraine, Lindsey Graham was unequivocal. He stated that under Trump, military and economic support for Ukraine would escalate, saying, "We are flowing weapons to Ukraine, so Ukraine will have the weapons to fight Putin back." Graham's remarks paint a picture of a more forceful US approach focused on both punishing Russia's backers and helping Ukraine directly. But India has always been very clear on its stand to this mounting Western pressure. Indian officials have time and again reiterated that India's energy policy is determined by national interest and not by external demands, and that Western sanctions do not bind its trade choices. The geopolitical standoff now intensifies, with tariffs and energy policy taking center stage. India is the second largest importer of Russian crude oil, with imports totaling over $67 billion in 2024, and Russian crude accounting for about 40% of India's oil imports. China remains the top buyer, consistently importing over half of Russian crude oil exports, mainly to support its infrastructure and energy demands. Brazil has also increased its import of Russian oil, with shipments rising over 80% year-on-year in the first half of 2025, as Brazilian refiners seek cheaper alternatives. Despite pressure from the US and Europe, all three countries have continued these imports amid the need for reliable energy sources.